Hi folks, Krzysztof the Polish Geek, and welcome to another movie review. Welcome to the review of Tron Ares, and to nobody's surprise, I think this movie is pretty bad. I can't believe people actually thought this would actually be any good, but yes, honestly, it's even worse than I expected. I didn't expect it to be particularly good from the beginning it was announced, actually. Yeah, the trailers looked pretty cool, at least visually and action-wise, but then again, that's obviously they're gonna do that because they have to sell you on the movie, but this is Disney. It's not like there was a chance this would be any good. Sure, Freaker Friday was pretty good and I ended up really enjoying it, but the exception confirms the rule, and the truth is we know the current situation that Disney is in. So yes, I didn't expect it to be any good at all, and then the reviews came out and it confirmed what I very much suspected, but honestly it's even worse than I thought. For starters, I keep hearing the people praising the visuals and the music. Nope, not even the music. I barely remember any of the music. I can remember some of the memorable soundtracks from the original Tron as well as Tron Legacy, but here, I already forgot the soundtrack. So yes, the soundtrack is completely forgettable here, and the visuals, I guess I could say decent, but I've seen visuals with better movies, and honestly, I'm gonna say that visuals in Tron Legacy are even better. But the worst part is that the story is completely uninteresting and completely not engaging, and the characters are so bland and boring. One of the major criticism of Tron Legacy was that the characters were so bland and uninteresting. But if you think that characters in Tron Legacy were bland and uninteresting, then you haven't seen what truly bland and uninteresting characters means, what Tron Ares, because honestly, I don't actually think characters in Tron Legacy were that bad, actually. And I did actually rewatch Tron Legacy, the original Tron, and then Tron Legacy to prepare from this movie, and yes, Tron Legacy is just so much better from this one in every way. I'm gonna go as far as say that Tron Legacy is actually quite good. Maybe not as good as the original Tron from the 80s, but still, it's actually a quite good sequel, I think, actually, but that's ultimately beside the point. The minute they announced that they weren't gonna use Kevin's son, Sam Flynn, and Quora in this movie, I think everybody predicted that they were not gonna go down this direction. The excuse was that it's been a long time and people want new characters. People want to build on the story of what you built before, and yes, 15 years has passed, we understand, but there's still nothing wrong with basically Sam Flynn now being in charge of Encom, of his father's company, and building on it. That's what they've done is completely disrespectful to his character. So especially if you're a Tron Legacy fan, then yes, this movie is gonna be a pure insult for you, actually. Worse yet, the movie also actually introduces some quite interesting concepts, actually, but then absolutely does nothing with them. We've all been hearing from marketing and all that they were actually using the original plan for the old Tron Legacy sequel that was planned but sadly scrapped. That they were using this original plan of digital world invading the real world, which could actually work in theory, except that because the writers clearly completely don't care for any of the thing they're doing, and instead just basically use a popular IP and name to write their own story, that they also have little to no care at all, actually, especially seeing how bland their characters are, actually. As a result, nothing is interesting, and it feels almost like it was written by AI. Yes, a movie that very much talks about AI and clearly tries to implement some modern stuff related to the modern development of AI and all, and yet it literally feels like written by AI. And all the characters already been saying how bland and completely lifeless they are. They literally all feel like they were written by AI. It's basically the movie, it almost feels like the creators basically told the AI who the characters are, and then the AI just basically created them, because they all just feel so bland and lifeless, and I don't even blame the actors. The actors are literally doing nothing but just basically following the script that they were given. So it's hard for them to really make the characters likable when the script just doesn't make them any interesting or anything. Because as I said, it's already pretty bad and an insult that they aren't building up on the story of Tron Legacy and actually using Sam Flynn and Quora, the characters that understandably a lot of fans would very much want to continue their story. So that's already pretty insulting, but you could look past that if at the very least they made new characters actually likable, and actually interesting, but that's not the case at all. As I just said, those are some of the most bland and lifeless characters I've ever seen on screen. And don't even get me started on the main villain. Like she's literally one of the least interesting villains and least intimidating that I ever seen on screen. Let's compare her to Master Control Program from the original Tron. The movie very much made it clear why Master Control Program is such a dangerous threat, and you totally felt it as you were watching the movie. And same thing I'm gonna say with Clue from Tron Legacy, Master Control Program, Clue, the movies very much made it clear why these guys were dangerous and why they had to be stopped at all costs. But here, it almost feels like the movie keeps telling you she's the main villain, she has to be stopped, but on all the scenes she's in, she just feels like this random character that's just there for the sake of being a main villain without even you understanding of why she's such a dangerous threat. Oh my gosh. The whole movie has basically only one so good scene in it. And ironically, it involves one of the original characters, the original character from Tron and the legacy character in Tron Legacy, of course, the one and only Kevin Flynn. And yes, there is this scene where Ares, the program Ares, actually transports into the original digital world from all the way from the 80s actually. And I'll also give it credit, I'm glad actually how the movie very much made it totally feel like this old digital world, actually down to the old technology, and then interacts with basically a projection of Kevin Flynn. I don't even remember what was it, because yeah, that's how unengaged I was in this story, but then basically just a projection, engages with a projection of Kevin Flynn in the old digital world from the 80s, which is actually another wasted potential, which we'll get to soon actually. And then they have this very fascinating philosophical conversation about the development of AI as well as tech and all, and then Kevin Flynn makes a very interesting point how people are so addicted now to technology without caring about some of the old art. He said, has anyone even listens to Mozart? And then Ares says he loves Mozart. And by the way, yes, I love Mozart too, and classical music. So yeah, this is some really interesting, fascinating conversation, and by far the best part of the movie. In fact, I'm gonna say it's one really great scene in a otherwise horrible movie. But that actually brings me even more to the point of a wasted potential, because as I said, he interacts with projection of Kevin Flynn in the old digital world from all the way old Tron from the 80s, and actually exploring more of this old world in the modern newer world, and maybe comparing it to the newer digital world that we've seen in Tron Legacy, as well as this movie actually. Yeah, that could be a potential for some really interesting concept actually, but no, this is another example of a movie introducing a really interesting concept, but basically it's the point of it being there is basically to get a character from point A to point B, and admittedly have this pretty interesting, great conversation, but other than that, basically serving to get a character from point A to point B, and then ultimately doing nothing with the concept. And even the world building here is pretty bad, because the world building in the first two Tron movies, there was some really great world building in the digital world. In the 80s Tron felt so interesting and otherworldly actually, and then the digital world in Tron Legacy felt like a different, much newer digital world that's kind of more similar to our real world with the more newer technology. But overall, both the original Tron from the 80s and the Tron Legacy both had some really fascinating world building. But here, it just, the digital world basically feels like nothing more than a generic, futuristic sci-fi world, instead of actually feeling like a digital world than the world of the previous two movies, even if it does admittedly use some of the similar looks from Tron Legacy actually. But yes, there's almost, outside of this one really great scene that I already talked about, I have almost no positives to say about Tron Ares. As I said, I didn't expect this movie to be any good, and after the reviews I was even more convinced that this isn't good, but but it's literally worse than I thought. Like, oh my gosh. Like, as I said, even the things that people praise, like the music and the visuals, are very much overrated. Like, as I said, the music is just like completely forgettable. So yes, the original Tron from the 80s, a pretty good 80s movie, and then Tron Legacy, a quite good and underrated sequel, I say, but Tron Ares is just horrible. But then again, this is modern Disney we're talking about, like, and as I said, I still very much thought that the Freaker Friday was a quite good movie and I really enjoyed it, but again, exception confirms the rule. But Tron Ares, like, is much worse than I imagined it to be. So, guys, here is my review of Tron Ares. Like, if you love the first two Tron movies, I suggest you stay away from Tron Ares. And if you just want a enjoyable action movie, then still very much stay away from it, because Tron Ares isn't it. Again, it has terrible bland characters, almost feels written by AI, and there's almost nothing good I can say about Tron Ares. So, thank you all of you for checking out this video. Press the like button, please subscribe to this channel, and I will talk to you soon in another video. Talk to you then, bye!